Excellent. So thanks everyone for joining. We have Alan, Tiffany, and Diane here from Sequence Bio. And for the interest of our speakers, there was a few people in the chat that said they're from biology classes. I know we have some junior high students, some grade 7s, and then some high school as well. So we kind of have a little bit of a diverse group here, but I'm sure they're interested to hear about what Sequence Bio does, what you folks do at the company, and about some of your career pathways. So we're so grateful to have you. Yeah, so Alan, if you're going to be the slide sharer, you can share your screen and get set up. And reminder to our classes to put in any questions in the chat box. Teachers, you can help that process go along, and we'll keep an eye on it as we go through. And I might interrupt you folks if I have a question or if anyone else has a question, but I think we'll let you take it away. So thanks, Sequence Bio. Tell us all about biotechnology.
Thank you very much.
Hi, everybody. We're here on behalf of Sequence Bio, and we're really excited to be a part of this Sparking Innovation series.
Yeah, so the problem that Sequence Bio is really trying to solve is what we exist to do. And we exist to find the true signals of disease to power life-changing medicines.
Yeah, so our product or service and how we make money, we conduct collaborative research with biotech, pharmaceutical companies, and universities. Many revenue models exist for this, but discovery milestones, revenue sharing from developed medical interventions, and payment for research operations are among those we consider.
A total of 25 people work here. We're located downtown St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, with remote employees all over Canada and the United States.
Our stakeholders we collaborate with on research are located locally and across the world. First up is me. My name is Diane Power. My pronouns are she, her. I grew up in a small community in Newfoundland and Labrador called Chapel Arm, which is in Trinity Bay. I am the Director of Research Coordination here at Sequence Bio. And what I liked about high school was meeting new friends. 3 words that describe my job: diverse, cutting edge, rewarding. My day-to-day, well, I have an option to work from home if I want to. That's a real benefit. I manage a team involved in recruitment and data collection of consented participants for research studies. I provide input to the software development team, help them shape features and design workflows that eventually get built as software. My team are kind of the end user of this software. I coordinate research project launches and support exec for planning and strategy. What skills do I use? Communication is important. So while engaging with participants and physicians, of course, collaboration. I work with many teams on our company. Software development team, as I mentioned earlier, security and privacy to keep our participants' data safe. I work with the research team for development of chart abstraction and coding standards, audits, and just basically answering any queries that they have. Leadership, I work with the executive team to develop terms, goals, and objectives for our team. What's my background? Well, in nursing with an extensive experience in research. I wanted to be a nurse all my life, as long as I could remember. My years as a nurse has shown me the many varieties of jobs you can, that actually exist. And what brought me to the tech sector was working as a research coordinator in various trials. I was already familiar with many types of software, seeing many research drugs fail to make it to market. I realized the future, and we were hearing a lot about precision medicine, and part of the precision medicine is finding genetic causes and developing new medicines. So here I am.
As I said before, my name is Tiffany Furneaux, and my pronouns are she, her. I'm originally from Ferryland, a small town here on the Avalon Peninsula, Newfoundland and Labrador. My job at Sequence Bio is I'm a research and regulatory scientist. And my favorite part of high school was definitely getting to hang out with my friends. My role at Sequence Bio, I describe as impactful, empowering, and dynamic. Like Diane said earlier, I do have the flexibility to work from home most days, and I really enjoy that. And no 2 days look the same for me. I help the research team review population level health data to better understand disease trends in our population. When a new project arises, I help promote collaboration and coordination with the whole team to get this research protocol into the ethics board, and I coordinate the ethics submissions. When I do my job, I require a few different skills, and one of those is critical thinking. So, especially with ethics, there's no black or white, cut and dry answer sometimes. So it's really important to be a critical thinker in those moments. Resourcefulness. There's a predetermined set of legislation or laws around participant privacy and ethics in research. And I have to know how to navigate hundreds of pages of legislation to find answers for our team really quickly. And organization. So our research protocol is a living document. It's always changing and evolving. Staying organized is crucial for ensuring that documentation of changes and approvals are received for our projects to make sure that we abide by local legislation and our ethics board. My background is I have a bachelor's degree in biochemistry, and I'm currently working on my master's in clinical epidemiology. Once I learned about the true impact of medical research, I was hooked. I knew that I could help improve how we treat patients in the hospitals here in Newfoundland and Labrador. And I got to use a lot of technology for data analysis as well. And seeing the big rise or increase of tech-based startups here in Newfoundland and Labrador, I found really fascinating. And that's really what led me into tech.
Thank you, Tiffany and Diane. My name is Alan O'Day. My pronouns are he, him. I'm from St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. I'm the Director of Security and Infrastructure here at Sequence Bio. My favorite parts of high school were performing in Oliver the Musical with the theater arts group at the school and traveling to Toronto with our chamber choir. 3 words to describe my work are collaborative, user-centered, and secure. My day-to-day is identifying unmet needs in technology across the company, assessing security risks and proposing new controls to test to mitigate them, and guiding my team to address needs and implement those controls. My education is in computer engineering. I have experience programming and building cloud architectures, experiencing doing security design, and experience leading a team. When I graduated, I took a job as a user experience analyst in the United States. I took a job as a programmer to move home and to follow my passion to build something. Then started to gravitate towards information security by taking an increasing interest in the vulnerabilities and attacks on code and how to detect, prevent, and fix them. What brought me to tech? I went to university to be a naval architect. In turn to engineering, I encountered serious programming for the first time and loved it. I realized I wanted a career that involved software programming. So it was a bit circuitous, but that's always good. You find your passion and you run with it.
The Newfoundland and Labrador Genome Project is our chosen passion project that Diane, Alan, and I collaborated on.
The technology involved in delivering this project was iPad-based surveys, secure storage and tracking of consent forms, surveys, and samples, teleconferencing to reach and work with participants, scheduling appointments, so technology for that, making sure there was ease of use for non-technical folks and the general public across all of these technologies, ensuring that we had cloud infrastructure and data security in place to keep the data secure and private, and web application development for the recruitment team and study participants so that applications were in place to recruit people as well as provide participants with access to their information.
In order to complete this project, certain skills were required, and some of those skills included privacy and ethics training and expertise, project management, software architecture, data collection and analysis, information security, and some of the soft skills we used were problem solving, teamwork, adaptability, and critical thinking.
So some of you are not going to be surprised by one of our, I guess, our ups and downs, one of our downs, I should say. So in our beginning, the first 2,500 participants that we enrolled in 2019, we did it in record-breaking time. What was our biggest challenge? Well, COVID-19 pandemic, March of 2020. We could no longer recruit without a dramatic redesign of our technology and processes. We worked together as a team to have a rapid turnaround to solve this problem and pave the way to remote consenting in Newfoundland and Labrador, as we were the first study to have approval for remote consenting. So that was huge for us, and I'm happy to say that we nailed it.
In this image, you'll see Diane consenting a test participant as part of our testing procedures. She explained the risks of the study, its potential benefits, and what to expect as a participant.
So once they're consented, of course, the test participant provided a saliva sample for genotyping and potential sequencing.
In our active studies, we have sent samples to Canadian genomics labs for analysis and received the results and imported them into our data warehouse for analysis.
Diversity in tech is really important because it provides more perspectives, better ideas, and better representation of all parts of society.
Diversity leads to broader perspectives.
Biotech has been predominantly male. It's important to address that so the resulting innovations benefit everyone.
Due to the niche nature of the skill sets in our domain, there's been a bias towards hiring without any consideration for diversity. Given our particular industry, we hire people with the skills that we need, not based on how they look or if they have certain beliefs. And just by chance, we have recruited a diverse team. We believe that's important to be intentional about this and make diversity sustainable.
In our experience, we have found that our diversity of representation has encouraged us to be more collaborative in solving problems. Instead of speaking from authority, we all enter the conversation. It has allowed us to develop new ideas and concepts we would not have otherwise without those diverse perspectives.
The people driving innovation should be reflective of the society that will benefit from it.
The courses or training required for my role was biology or chemistry, mathematics, statistics, and programming.
Global competencies, ethics, collaboration, communication.
Some of the resources you may find useful to pursue this as a career if you are interested in taking part in biotech and finding cures for diseases. You could go to Memorial University, see programs in nursing, biology, computational biology, computer engineering. You could join a boot camp like Get Coding, or you could take courses on Freed Code Camp or Khan Academy. There are lots of ways of participating and lots of opportunities, regardless of if you go to university or go through a boot camp. There are many options here.
When pharmaceutical companies are testing interventions, 90% of drug candidates fail in clinical trials before ever hitting the market. This costs the industry billions of dollars, delays in the introduction of life-saving medicines, and makes interventions for rare conditions very expensive for patients or too expensive for the industry to research.
Sequence Bio was started based on that idea. We are very keen to accelerate the discovery and development of life-changing medicines and make them affordable. Better yet, we get to help foster a nascent biotech industry here at home. So,
We'd like to leave you with, think about something that you encounter every day. Do you have an idea how to solve it? Gather a team, start your own company, solve it.
Thank you.
All right, folks, the floor is open for all of your questions.
Amazing. Thanks so much for your detailed presentation. And I think I learned a few things about Sequence Bio. I definitely learned that you're very collaborative and that it takes a lot of different skill sets and areas of expertise to make your company successful. So I'd like to start off, how do you collaborate daily? Like, what does that look like? Are you constantly in meetings? Do you have any tools or software that you use to keep everyone up to date on what's going on in certain areas? Like, what does that collaboration look like day to day?
Ellen, you want to grab that one?
Sure, yeah. So we have a virtual team, so people can work in the office or work from home, and we have remote employees, as Diane and Tiffany both mentioned. They're here in St. John's, but they have the opportunity to work from home. I work from home, or I work from the office. So the way this often works is that our days will start, depending on the team, with some form of short kickoff, where you check in on what's in progress, and if people are struggling, figure out an opportunity to get together and work on that. But quite often it's there'll be virtual meetings through the day where people are working on things. So for the most part, my days are composed of working meetings where we're sharing code across Google Meet and trying to figure out problems and build new things. So I don't find myself sitting in meetings or whiteboarding or charting that much, but I think it depends on the role. But I think a lot of our time is spent in collaborative meetings working through problems.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Alan, and I was just going to add one thing. We do have our all-hands meeting where there's updates from all the different teams, so that really helps us put everything together.
Excellent. Thank you for answering that. So for anyone out there listening, if you have questions, please send them in. Tell your teacher to type them in the chat box, or if you have a mic, you can unmute. There was a comment there, and Alan, maybe you want to stop sharing just so we can see your faces a little bit bigger, or you can put up a different slide with some info on it if you'd like. There was a note there from John Goldsworthy. He said he noticed there were 7 open positions currently on the career page. So right now you're talking to students who have, maybe 5 years left of school, or maybe only a year left of high school, and they're going to be looking for career opportunities. So what can you say about some of the open opportunities at Sequence Bio, and what would you say to some future potential employees?
Well, I can speak to some of the ones we're talking about in tech briefly, and then we can go around. We're looking for people who are keen to learn, mainly. Like we're not shy of training people. Many of the people we've brought on have been keen learners. You don't need to come in here with a massive amount of experience. It depends on what you're coming into. I mean, certain roles you would want to have a strong background. If you're coming into computational biology, it's very important to have a strong background there with regards to biology and chemistry. I think that for tech, it's a little bit more flexible. So the idea is we're able to train people if they're coming into IT or cloud roles here. So that the idea is that you come in with a keen knowledge, or sorry, a keen interest in learning, and we're prepared to cross train. But the idea would be a background in probably a college program in IT, or programmer analyst program, or one of the computer science or computer engineering. We're not necessarily looking in tech for a particular background. We're looking for a particular mindset.
So that might mean thinking of some of the core competencies that our students are learning about. Like Tiffany, I love that you mentioned that critical thinking was one of your top skills that you do day to day. So just to kind of put it in, I guess, layman's terms for me and for anyone else, you're dealing with a lot of data from people's personal health information and genetic data. So I'm sure there's a lot of kind of checks and balances to make sure that what you're doing with that data is what you said you would do and what the patient agreed to. So can you kind of expand on the critical thinking piece and how that's how that's kind of vital for your role?
Yeah, so we've collected a lot of data through the baseline questionnaire in particular. So people went through after they consented to the study, and they completed information on, where their parents are from in Newfoundland and Labrador, what their medical history might be apart from their medical record, if they smoke or if they drink any alcohol, and that's a lot of data. So it's important to go into the large data set with a non-bias or like a hypothesis, because you'll start to see different trends that aren't really there. And when you do see a trend, it's probably not a trend that you either anticipated or expected. So it's important to kind of view everything with a critical lens. Okay, well, why do we see this increase in people that are smoking at a certain age, or why do we see people consuming more alcohol, or why are we recruiting people within this part of Newfoundland and Labrador versus another, right? So being able to, it's not just the data that you use a bunch of different data based on what we already know about Newfoundland and Labrador and the habits that we have here, and we kind of mesh everything together to come up with some type of hypothesis, but we're always challenging it. So I never really knew that I wanted to be a scientist or a researcher. Like being in junior high, I didn't even know what that was. So I really struggle with that identity piece. Like some of my friends they knew they wanted to be nurses, or they wanted to go and they wanted to do programming, or they wanted to be a graphic designer. And for me, it was kind of ambiguous, and I had an idea of what I kind of wanted to do, but being flexible, just exploring your interests as much as possible. I love biology. I don't know if it was because of the teacher, it was one of my favorite teachers of all time, or if it was just something that sparked my interest and I was just genuinely interested in it. But that was what led me to pursue biochemistry. And then, but like not having the self-doubt of being like, okay, well, I don't know what I want to do yet, so I'm going to fail, or I don't know what direction to take, so this is a bad thing. That's an amazing thing, because you don't even know half of the options out there right now. And then like going in wholeheartedly or open-mindedly and being like, okay, I'm going to test out this. And if you don't like it, that's okay. And the other skills like collaboration, communication, those are things that you're building on every single day. So if you notice that maybe you're a little bit more of an introvert, I challenge you maybe every week to try something that really pushes you outside of that boundary. And you might not be perfect at it right away, but you'll definitely improve. And I'm still working on that now as a 26, 27-year-old. And that's never going to change. So I just challenge everyone to just try to push themselves outside a little bit more.
I'd like to add something to that, just because when I said I always wanted to be a nurse, I thought of nurse in the hospital helping people. And then when I got into nursing, I was like, oh my God, there's so many more things I can do. And then I was starting to push and I'll say to my kids, you know what? You don't have to stick with one thing just because you do it and you thought, oh, I love this. There's so many things that you're open to once you get out in the world.
I think one of the things that kind of came to me after school that I wish I had known when I was in school was how important it is to show your work and why teachers care about that. Like it seems so silly. It's like, isn't it the answer that matters? Like, why do you want me to show you how I got there? It's obvious, right? But it's not obvious. The only way someone else can check your work for it being done right and to say where the mistake was made is if you show your work. It is very important now in junior high and high school. It is critically important when you're doing science. If you don't show your work when you're doing science, then you can get to a point where you release something into the world that isn't safe, or like a bridge that will collapse, or a drug that will cause people to get sick instead of making them well. So workings matter. And it might seem frustrating now, but show your work. It makes it easier for you to follow your own work and to repeat the process. It also makes it easier for other people to help you if there are parts of it that are going wrong, and it makes it more collaborative.
Thanks for that. And Susan, I think you're right back to the chat bar there now. Did you see that one there?
Yeah, I see it there. So we have a question that says, do you see the genetic pool of NL as a resource that we can market to pharmaceutical companies? Anyone want to take that one on? Is it a resource that we can use as like, to sell to other companies in other places in the world? That we have an interesting genetic pool here in Newfoundland and Labrador?
I think, Diane, you can speak on that, but I do want to just flag that selling, when we talk about sharing any type of genetic information, selling has a really negative connotation because it's not at all what that is. So I just wanted to clarify that before maybe Diane could speak a little bit on that.
I think the founder population that we work with is more to find, like, it's less noise if we think about genetics. So if you think about the New York population, I always think of that in the diversity. Here, the founder population, it's refers to groups that either have descended from a few individuals who typically left one area to settle to another for political reasons and social reasons or whatever, religious reasons even sometimes, you get a bottleneck occurring. So when you think of it that way, there's less noise in our genes, so it's easier, not easier, but like it's, maybe I'm saying that too simplistically, but it's easier to study our genetics than to, so I'm not sure if I've gone off on a different track here, but that's basically.
Yeah, so as an epidemiologist or an epidemiology student, the population data in Newfoundland and Labrador, you can see certain genetics or how certain genetics or bottlenecks in our population have occurred because certain conditions that may be considered rare in other places are actually really, really common here in Newfoundland and Labrador. And yeah, I just wanted to add that piece. Alan, I don't know if you wanted to touch on actually marketing the pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah, I can talk to that briefly. I mean, one of the things that we do in terms of providing safeguards around that kind of information, considering how intensely private and important it is that we place it in a way that people can bring in their own pharmaceutical companies' data or universities' data, work with our data in a secure environment where that data can't leave. So the idea is they can develop findings and work with us, particularly with Tiffany in her role as ethics coordinator here, to determine whether or not the data that they're generating from it is safe for release. So the idea is we have a lot of safeguards in place to make it so that pharmaceutical companies can conduct research with us, with our data, without that data ever being able to leave, so that we can provide a mechanism for them to do findings, and then we can carefully vet the information they want to release from there as findings, so that we can do it in a safe way without risking the privacy or genetic integrity of the people of the province. So the idea is, yes, it is very valuable, and yes, we do our absolute utmost to protect it.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing is it's very important to not treat it as a marketable or a kind of like you're not selling T-shirts, right? You're selling something. You're not selling it. You're using this data in a very specific way to solve a very important problem, and it's not a resource like our mining or our fishing in that way that we can kind of bring to the world to make money, right? It's really focused on the health of the province and all the implications from that. So thank you for kind of touching on that. I know it's might be a tricky question. We do have some time, so if there's any other questions from the audience, I could go on forever, so I don't want to take up all the time, but I want to make sure there's opportunities for someone to pipe in if they'd like.
Wait time is not my I'm not good at it, because I have a question, one more question that I want to ask, because when we think about we really focus on developing competencies, right? Like character, collaboration, creativity. Global citizenship is also one. And we know that when there's a moral purpose in our classrooms about the work that we're doing, that it becomes more relevant, intentional, and sometimes the learning can really stick better when we're going about it with an actual moral purpose. When I think about your work, citizenship is all over it. You're working for the people in our province, in our world, to look at ways to improve healthcare through medications. So does that help you? Everybody has really hard days at work. Projects get heavy. You hit walls. You fail. Does it help because you have that moral purpose embedded in what it is that you're doing?
I can speak at the beginning, I suppose, for that. When I worked as a nurse with clinical trials, you got to see people coming in, they were sick, we had a drug, you tried it, excuse me, and then it would maybe fail. Sorry. And then you add another drug onto a heart attack person, and you get minimal, oh yeah, it might have helped a little bit. And one day I was thinking, Jesus, there's got to be more to it than this. There got to be more ways to help us. So when I thought about Sequence Bio, I thought, wow, this is a real chance to, not treat everybody with the same drug. You come in with 5 other people with esophageal cancer or any type of cancer. You're all going to get this, this, and this. But we're all different. There's drugs out there that don't even, I look at cardiology because that was one of my favorite places, my passions. And, there was one drug that probably 20 out of 30 people, it didn't help. So this is a chance for us to really make a difference and for the world even, our little province of Newfoundland and Labrador. And that's where I go.
Thanks, Diane.
I put it in the chat. I said, I always say that Newfoundland and Labrador is the Silicon Valley of Canada because we have a plethora of, or a wealth of biotech or even tech startups. And not only are these, companies that are really impactful for the local economy, providing jobs and additional insight into the tech realm, but also they're impactful on a national and international level, right? So being able to, for me, as a biochemist at the time, or as a biochemistry student, I had hyper fixated on Sequence Bio as a company that I knew I really wanted to work with because no one else was doing that at home. And I could do really impactful research on an international level and have impact right here at home. So that's kind of what led me here. And it's very, very true. Being able to have that global citizen lens, it does make the hard days a lot easier.
That's awesome. I'm just going to put a link in the chat. This is for educators and students in schools. If you have any additional questions, this is it's a place for you to share the session that you attended. And if you have any additional questions that you might have after you hang up from this call, sometimes we'll think about this over the next day or so, or engage in learning conversations in our classrooms and have noticings or wonderings that you want to dig a little bit further into. If that happens, someone take this link and copy it into another doc or write it down or do something with it so that you have access to it. If you lose the link, don't hesitate to reach out. And Susan Kelly is keeping a good eye on the questions that are coming into this from schools and networking and building connections and networks with schools and the people who have joined us. So Susan, I'm just going to say, before I pass it over to you, a huge thank you to yourself and Jacqueline And today, to Alan, Diane, and Tiffany, I feel like we're only at the beginning of a mission to support our educators and our students to help them see the opportunities that are out there now in 2023 for our students in schools. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It was our pleasure.
Thank you.
If there's any kind of last thoughts, I think, oh, you're getting lots of applause. Look at that. If there's any last thoughts, Alan, I saw you kind of unmute there. I didn't know if you wanted to add something as a...
Oh, no, that's everything. Thank you very much for having us. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks everybody. And yeah, if there's any questions out there that are ruminating and you just can't get rid of out of your head and you want to know and you want to talk to one of these fine folks from Sequence Bio, send us a note and we will do our best to get that question answered. So hopefully we've inspired some more biotechnologists, some researchers, scientists, information tech, cybersecurity, all of those types of roles. Hopefully we've inspired some of that. So thanks everybody and have a great day.
Thanks everyone.
Bye.